realize that so you can just dim the lights for a second. Go ahead, just give me a little time. Whoever you're sitting next to, he brighten the lights. Go ahead and start it, and just join hands. If you have a family member that you're sitting next to, and just kind of close your eyes. We'll see. Sometimes God steps into your life to remind you that your life is not your life. Your marriage is not your marriage. Your children are not your children. Your destination, your rebirth, your growth was not just for you. It was for God. When God changed you, it was not for your own being. When God saved you and you heard the first trumpet blow, understand that there's going to be another trumpet that's going to blow. And there's some in-between time. Well, in between the first trumpet where you got saved and the last trumpet when God comes back, you got some work to do. I battle with this all the time. Understanding when is that last trumpet going to sound. I don't know. But I know in between, God has a purpose for my life and your life. And the only way to find that purpose is to get into prayer. I didn't know that at this time last year or years before that my brother was going to be gone. I don't know next year if I'll be gone. But I know one thing. I serve a risen Savior that has laid a gift on me. And it's my responsibility to give that gift. The same Savior that laid the gift on me has laid a gift on you. Yes. So we got to figure out that in between time, from the first trumpet to the last trumpet. Because when that last trumpet blows and he comes back, I want to be ready. And if they've already laid me down, I want to get up. But there's some work to be done.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Yes, hallelujah.
So I'm ready now.
All right. Use them, Lord. Yes.
Please understand that your pastor is just like a man, just like
Amen.
you don't get sick. So it's always got to be somebody ready. I might not always be that one. That's why God is preparing some. Yeah. So as God prepares you for your gift, the one thing that we struggle with is peace. So I'm going to start in Isaiah 26. Then I'm going to move to John 16 and 33. So if you could kind of mark those. And I'll give you 3 quick points. And I'll sit down. Isaiah 26 and 3. And as you find that, I don't know if you know that even me, I battle with this calling. I battle with the fact that God has showed me a wretch to do some things. But there's one thing that I do not battle with. The fact that God is God. I ain't going to battle with that. And then whatever he touches, he does for a reason.
Amen.
And you'll have to stand. Then we'll look at John 16 and 33. And I'm going to take my time because I'm going to teach this.
Come on now.
Isaiah 26 and 3 reads, you will keep in perfect peace.
Amen.
Him whose mind is steadfast. And God's talking to the mind.
Amen.
Peace, mind. Peace, mind. Him who is steadfast. Peace, mind. Him whose mind is steadfast. That means steadfast, steady. That means mind on God. That means mind not on world, but mind on God. To him who is steadfast, mind on God, not letting the worldly things take your mind off God. I will give you peace. Promise from God. Him who is steadfast, mind on God. Not mind on worldly things, not mind on things that you see outside, not mind on things that means when everything else around you is incorrect, God is still correct. Mind steadfast. Steadfast on God. Steady on God. Always on God. When things go bad, I am on God. When things are good, I am on God. When things are not looking right, I am on God. When I'm struggling on my job, I am on God. When the relationship goes sour, I am on God. When my children are tripping, I am on God. I have peace. Because I have that peace, before I had that peace, that I handled things a different way. But now that I have that peace and I'm steadfast with my mind on God, it's tough for you to get to me because I'm steadfast, mind on God. I'm coming out of a situation. It doesn't matter the situation, whether it's jail, whatever it is, but you're steadfast, mind on God. Sometimes, I'm going too far over. I'm going to teach it. Because he trusts in you. Trust in the Lord forever. And the Lord is the rock eternal. He humbles those who dwell on high. And I'm going to stop right there and I'm going to move to John. I'm going to come back. John 16, 33. John 16, 33.
Thank you, Lord.
I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble. In this world you will have trouble. He's told you keep your mind steadfast on him. But he also just came back and said, in this world, there will be trouble. In this world, some things that you're not going to like, it's not going to be easy. In this world, their old death will come. Someone will die in this world. But
be a good. Come on now.
Take heart.
Teach us. Teach us.
you will have troubles. But take heart. I have overcome the world.
Amen.
Some of the Bibles might read different. But I read from a New International Version because it kind of helps me a little bit. I'm still learning.
It's the same thing.
But if you take that and you take a look at it, 1 second. Father, thank you for this opportunity. Please allow me to disappear and you show up, God.
Yes, Lord.
Father, thank you for Pastor Q, God. Thank you for his work. Thank you for your work in him. Now, Father, I'm asking you right now, give me about 10 minutes, God, and allow you to come in. And Father, please, please, please understand that I am so grateful for this calling.
Yes, Lord.
In your son, Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Understand that in John, God had been talking to the disciples. I will teach this. And the disciples were on the edge right now because Jesus was getting ready to leave.
Right.
He was getting ready to go. And he was trying to prepare them for the situations that will come into the world. And he said, in a minute you will scatter, and in my name things will happen. But I want you to understand, and I want you to keep your mind steadfast, and I want you to keep your mind focused in this world. And I think, me personally, but maybe you, sometimes I forget that I'm in this world. And sometimes the worldly person that was before that, see, let me go back to that trumpet. See, you hear two trumpets in life. I learned this from a funeral. From a pastor told me this. That first trumpet is when you get saved. Trumpet blows. That last trumpet is when it come back. So from the first time you hear that first trumpet, and those of you that are not saved and struggling with being saved, I'm going to help you today because you're going to get saved today. For the first time you hear that trumpet, your mind becomes a vessel of God, and your actions become a vessel of God, and you find yourself looking at situations to where you don't look at them the same. But you also find yourself alone. You don't have as many friends. You don't have a circle anymore because now you're walking with God. And the Christian people that you thought were with God, they are with God, they love God, but they don't really trust each other anyway, so they're still struggling with this steadfast mind. So you go to church, and you know no one in church. You go to church, and you find yourself looking for that church that fits who you are. And we find ourselves looking into the places trying to find the church over here, the church over there, or does this church fit me, or does that church fit me? And I stop by to tell you, unless your mind is steadfast on God, ain't no church gonna fit you. And so, as you begin processing this stuff and understanding that Jesus is getting ready to leave, and here you are as a disciple, a servant of God, and he's leaving, but he's telling you you're going to be persecuted for my name's sake, and these things are going to happen. Think about how you would react.
Right.
Think about how you would react if I called you last night and said someone's getting ready to bash in your window and jump through your window. Think about how you would react. And you won't live when they get there. When they come through that window, they're going to take you and they're going to crucify you upside down, and they're going to do some things that you never thought that. Just think if I told you that now. If you told me that, even though I love God, I'm going to get them buckshots ready. And I'm going to load them buckshots, but the buckshots ain't going to help you. The only thing that's going to help you is the understanding that God has prepared a place. So I'm telling you why you're here. The time that you spend arguing and fussing and focused on finances and focused on things of the world and angry at your supervisor and mad at your spouse and that stuff ain't worth nothing. The time that you spend in the gossip and in all of that stuff it's not worth anything when you can spend more time steadfast with your mind ready for warfare. I didn't expect you to say anything this morning, but a lot of us have allowed the enemy to get into our lives, to get into our relationships, to get into our homes, and yeah, we all mess up. Would you like me to give you an example of mess up before I go on? Example of mess up. Here you go, Bert, preach. Anybody else? Give that to somebody. Mind steadfast on Jesus. Mind steadfast on the world. Give you an example of mess up. Lady was found in adultery.
All right. All right.
Come on. Speak on it.
Mind steadfast on God. And the people of the church were trying to figure out what Jesus was going to do. They wanted to catch Jesus in a situation to where they could prove that he was a false blasphemy or whatever we want to call it. But lucky that we serve a God that thinks and prays before he speaks. Just imagine if we done that, how different our relationship would be. If I made you mad and you just got down and wrote in the sand and said, you know what, Jacques, I ain't going to say a word to you till I figure out what God told me to say, because you don't want to hear from me. You really don't want to hear what I got to say, because it's going to make the situation. Just imagine if we stayed steadfast on God and we thought about what we said before we said, because everybody in here has a sword. And it's called a tongue. And don't think that you're any different from the enemy stepping into your tongue. He'll make that blah, 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 and before you know it, you have said things to each other that you really didn't mean. I stopped by this morning, and the title of this sermon is In Between. That's the only way you're going to have God is you. Just imagine. I'm going to show you the example. So the woman had committed adultery, and all of the deacons and all of the church people stoned her. She's messed up, and she's destroyed. She's done this. And so as they stand up with the rocks. So this is you. So as you roll back, where I got you gonna throw? The woman flinched. Do it again. Do it again. A lot of times, because we're not in that intimate relationship with God, when they come between us or they come against us, we flinch. When the enemy steps with us with financial violence, when the enemy steps with us when there's not enough food, when the enemy steps to us, there's no peace. Because our minds are not. I just wanted to teach you this morning, and I'll be gone. I'm just a wretch, an old coach that God called. I ain't nothing. But those people with the rocks have done nothing. They have no sins. My children, they try to drop the rocks. Don't drop the rocks yet. Don't pass the rock to somebody else. My daughter, my son, whom I've done the same thing that they did in college, instead of praying for them and talking to them, my mouth goes blah, 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 blah. You have no sin? My wife, who me? I'm not worth a dime in a bag of dimes. So how can I? If we're going to survive this thing, and we're going to survive this worldly thing, in relationships and in everything, stay standing, our mind has to change our mind thought. The world wants us to be angry at each other. That's why there's so much social media, newspapers, whatever we want to call it. It wants you to be upset. If the enemy can keep you upset, he keeps your seed from growing. He keeps things from happening. I just stopped by to teach you this morning about if he can keep you bickering, and he can, sometimes you'll go to bed.
Man, that's it. Oh, yeah.
And you'll wake up like that movie from 1976. And you'll be mad at him or mad at her. And your head will turn. And everything that he or she did, you'll remind them of it. You did that, you did that, you did that, you did that. And then that person will go, well, I thought we were past that. I thought we were past that. And then next the rocks come back and do the rock. Ah! And next thing, and they do it again. Ah! And the fights broke out.
Come on.
God did not build us for confusion. When the child was born, they said, I'm giving you the Prince of Peace. God is trying to help us figure out here how to find peace. So Jesus drops down on one knee and he starts to write in the dirt. And the rocks drop. The rocks drop because people realize I'm not better than the next person. The rocks drop because they realize that I've been there myself before. The rocks drop because they realize that I'm not as good as I thought I was. The rocks drop because they realize that this man has a point. He who has sinned, cast the first stone. That's why you take communion. Don't take communion unless you really understand that you forget and forgiveness. I'm talking about steadfast mind on God.
Yeah.
You may sit down. Leave those rocks there for a purpose. The rocks are there for a purpose. Because God has to keep you shaken up. So God will take people close to you. People that you see every day. And he'll hand them a rock. And not necessarily just him. God wants you. That's what I'm trying to tell you. God wants you. He wants you to. He has a plan for you. And if the only way he can get that plan out to you is to keep handing people rocks, for you to understand that your relationship in your life is not going to get any better until you put God first. You'll never find peace until you put God first. You'll never find happiness until you put God first. You'll never understand your true purpose until you put God first, but you will never, ever, ever find peace until you put God first. So, God said, you'll be persecuted and afflicted for me. But I want you to look at this in a different way. This doesn't mean that you're going to be physically beat or things are just going to happen. But there will be things in this world that come against you that you really don't understand until you think back to the Word. That's why it's so important that you spend some time every night doing push-ups in the Word. You've got to figure out every night how to stay spiritually in shape, how to keep your mind and your family in that Word, because something's going to come against you. Why do you think there are people dying behind road rage? Because the enemy knows if he kills the peace and gets people out of the Word, that ordinary people like me and you will say things that we really don't mean and do things, because this is a world of persecution and a world of affliction.
Yes, sir.
So, in order to keep you outside your peace, it used to be just street drugs.
Come on, teach this.
But now the enemy has said, okay, I'm going to use the prescription drugs, the street drugs. I'm going to use their job. I'm going to use depression. I'm going to use financial down. I'm going to use financial up. I'm going to use their children. I'm going to persecute them with their own finances. I'm going to give them everything that they need in their hand. And I'm going to watch them not do what God says. Because if I keep their mind off God, it's no way they can stay in God. So their finances are not in God. Their family's not in God. Their life is not in God. Their situations is not in God. Their car is not in God. Their children are not in God. Their light bill is not in God. If the enemy can keep your mind outside of Steadfast and not on God, there will never be any peace. Affliction and persecution. Keeps me not really focused on time. Talking to myself now. Affliction and persecution keeps us focused on not what God has brought us from. Affliction and persecution keeps us bickering among each other. Affliction and persecution keeps us not understanding what our dreams and what our future that God gave us really is. Affliction and persecution takes us to the point that we feel like that we don't even want to be here anymore. Affliction and persecution brings about suicide. Affliction and persecution brings about all of these things that are not of your mindset. But you forgot the same Jesus that died on the cross had to go to the Garden of Gethsemane, and he had to get his mind right. He asked God, is this cup? He said something about a cup. What did he say?
Cup can be taken away.
Can this cup be taken away?
Yeah.
And the answer I'm going to tell you right now is no. What I did in the past, that's not going to go away. What your children did in the past, that cup ain't going anywhere. The fact that you didn't finish college and you're angry at your job situation, it ain't going to go nowhere. The fact that the relationship went sour and it just went bad, it ain't going nowhere. So what do you do when it ain't going nowhere? You do what Jesus do. What would Jesus do? Became a fad in the mid-2000s. Wristbands were made. What would What would Jesus do? What would Jesus do? But I know what Jacques would do. I know what Jacques did. When Jacques realized that things had got too big for him and the situations that he couldn't handle in the world, Jacques came to church one day and he was already angry because he was a preacher's kid and he was in a bad situation. He came to church one day and he found God. How does a preacher's kid come to church and find God? I know what Jacques did one day. Jacques decided, you know what? I'm going to learn how to keep my mouth closed sometime, and I'm going to listen. I'm going to be slow to anger. But it ain't always work. I know what Jacques did. I know what Jacques did. He said, I'm going to sit down with my wife and I'm going to talk situations out. And if it gets bad, if it gets worse and worse, then we'll just stop and start writing in the dirt and start praying. I know what Jacques did. I can't tell you what to do in your situation. But I can tell you there is a God that you can turn to when you're dealing with those children. There is a God that you can turn to when things ain't going too good. There is a God that you can turn to in the midnight hour when you got tears in your eyes and nobody knows the sickness that you're dealing with. There is a God that you can turn to when you walk out of that prison and don't know what's going to happen next.
Thank you, Jesus.
Point number 2. So, and this point's kind of crazy. There is no solid peace in the world. In the world. There's no solid peace. That rock. So if you're looking for peace in this world, there is no solid peace.
Amen.
And God has taught us that through our own afflictions. You learned that there was no solid peace when you got sick. And you look to your left and you look to your right. And God provided that ram in the bush, whether it was your wife or whatever, to be there for you in that midnight hour when no one recognized the pain. You recognize that there is no solid peace. When there was nobody else there for you to help you with your situation, and all of a sudden, that bill that you had somehow, you realize there was no solid peace. So if there's no solid peace, what should you do? Figure out a way to live in joy.
Amen. Yes.
This is hard for us. This is hard for me. When situations run bad with my children, I want to run bad. When I'm figuring out how to pay that college tuition, I want to do it the way I want to do it. When I'm figuring out how to make that next bill, I want to do it the way I want. There is no solid peace.
Come on now.
The only peace that you have, the only peace that you should seek, the only peace that you should try to find, the only peace that you already have. Because many of us were taught the peace and we accepted the peace, but we ain't been using the peace. The only peace that we have is in Jesus Christ.
Amen.
So when you're at this point right now, because we're all at that point, and don't you lie about it, don't you say we're all at that breaking point. We might not be at that same breaking point, but we're all at that breaking point. We all at that point where we're ready to give up. We're all at that point where we're ready to quit. We're all at that point where we're ready to go back, because there's no solid peace on earth. So when there was no solid peace on earth, we seek other peace. Some might find it in alcohol. Some might find it in drugs. Some might find it in music. Some might find it in anger. Some might find it going for a ride. Some might find it in a pack of Newports. Some might find it in talking to themselves. Some might find it and never find it. Some might find it by not talking to anybody. Some might find it by saying, I'm not going to church. Some might say, I don't need church. Well, I'm going to tell you this. If you know God, you don't really need to go to church all the time. But I'm going to tell you what church gives you. Church gives you some hope. Because when I come and see y'all, the same people that I grew up with, going through the same issues, making it out of the same situation. And I see, when I look at Lester and I see some, I say, you know what, I can make it through this thing too. When I look at you and know what you've been doing, I see some, I say I can get through this thing too. When I look at BB and say what we've been through in Oak Springs, I can know there's some. When I look back at nature and know what we went through as kids, I know there's some. And when I look at his ugly butt and know what we have been through from day one, I know there's some. Nobody knows what you've been through. Nobody knows your survival techniques. Bear Grylls didn't have nothing on you. He might have drunk his own pee, but you put water in cereal when you was in the project, so I know you can make it. Nobody knows what you've been through. Nobody knows how you and your wife have made it this far. Nobody knows how a single mother has made it by herself but you. Nobody understands your Bear Grylls experience. Nobody understands that in the midnight hour how you have survived on that paycheck that you have. Nobody understands that but you and nobody understands that. To that person that's looking for that relationship in an unsolid place, I'm going to tell you to chill out. To that single young lady that's looking for that Prince Charming, I'm going to tell you to chill out. To that young man that's waiting on that special lady, I'm going to tell you to chill out. Before you find that person, you got to understand God's going to get his first. God's going to get his bridegroom experience before you find a bride or a groom. I'm going to tell you to chill out. Because if you seek that relationship and that life on your own without God, without a steadfast mind on Jesus, you're going to match up with the wrong. Find peace. Find love. Find understanding. To that couple that's struggling, seek peace. To that couple that's been together for 50 years, but nobody knows you're really tired of beside each other. Seek peace. To that couple, that's right, that was funny.
We know
But it's true.
We know it's true.
To that couple that's struggling to stay together, find peace. To that couple that's looking for that financial breakthrough, seek God. To that couple that's just looking for some energy, go to church, get hope. There's a room full of people looking for the same energy. And when it's all said and done, spiritual peace does not come from duties. It does not come from service. You can't find spiritual peace being a deacon. You can't find spiritual peace. Matter of fact, the more you get inside here, it's going to be harder to find that peace. So don't think that you can seek that peace, that peace just by coming to church or working or helping with the Little League program or doing good things or helping in your community. You're never going to find peace that way. The only peace that you're going to be able to find peace is when you study the cross. The only way that you're going to find peace is when you understand that Jesus hung on the cross for our transgressions. The only way you're going to find peace is you actually got to go back to Genesis and start reading about the apple and the tree. And understand that there is no peace, there is no solid foundation right here. The only way you're going to find peace is you got to pick up that word. The only way you're going to find peace is you got to search for peace. It's not just going to come to you. You got to find your own spiritual closet, your own spiritual place. And you got to ask God, God, I want you. Come into my life. I accept you as my personal Savior because I'm ready for peace. The enemy knows that if he takes away the peace, he takes away the word. That's why there's so much going on. So the last thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to sit down, understand that tomorrow is not promised. And that as a person and as a child of God, understand that you speaking to that person right now could be the last time, the last word that you say to that person. And do you want that last word to be something that cut them like a knife? Understand that things that you do and the things that you do out of despite and out of anger, it's not going to work. Understand that peace is love. Understand that God is love. Understand that where you are, that this is not your final place. He has went to prepare a place for you. You got to survive this though. You got to find your where and your how and your purpose right here. And your purpose might not be my purpose. Your purpose might be totally different from my purpose. I'm grateful I am a teacher and I'm grateful that I'm around children. But understand your purpose might be different. Don't try to fit into somebody else's circle of life. God has uniquely created you. Matter of fact, he stuck you on a potter's wheel, and after he created you, he took something and destroyed the mold. There'll never be another you. There'll never be another you. No one will never go through what you went through or what I went through. But understand the only way that you're going to find God is to stay steadfast. And keep your mind on him. Thank you, God bless.